Good morning, Saul. Good morning, Will.
Good morning.
Good morning, Hank and Will. I'm sure that Will is looking for all the stuff he's going to share his screen with right now,
yes.
so he won't have to look later.
Okay. Okay, if you let me share a screen, I'll go take a look and make sure I can do it. Okay.
You are allowed to share your screen.
Okay. All right, here is let's see if this comes up. Okay, looks like that works fine. And the only other thing is going to be go on YouTube, and that's not a problem. Either I can do it or one of you guys can do it. No problem at all. Okay, let me stop sharing. Hi, Sandy. Good to see you. Not very many people signed on so far.
Well, it's early.
Not that early. Got about 3 or 4 minutes to go.
We drift in one by one, Will.
Right. Well, Hank, I'll give him an extra 5 minutes.
He always does.
When you schedule a meeting for 10:30, a lot of people sign on at 10:30.
Yeah.
And it's only 10:28.
Hank, I liked it better when we had your picture. I don't like the APCUG logo.
Yeah, I like it better that way too, but if I don't want to be bumped off, this is the safest way to do that.
Oh, are you getting bumped? Okay.
Yep. And every time I get bumped, it stops the recording and starts a new one.
Shall we fix it for you? Do you want to ask us how to fix it? Ross is here. He can help you. Saul is here. He can help you.
I think Hank has figured out this workaround that works for him.
Okay.
What's different about the logo versus the picture that keeps you from getting bumped off?
I have no idea.
It's the bandwidth with Zoom. It overtaxes his computer or something and it just disconnects.
Hank, do you need a new computer?
No, I just need to put up the logo and not my face.
Oh, you're being too resistant. We're here to help.
And maybe fewer programs running in the background.
I have found what works, and that's what I'm doing.
You could always make a logo out of your face.
That's right.
Yeah, I tried that. I get bumped if I have anything except the one that says turn off your video.
Why are so many people blacked out?
Maybe they're shy.
Or it's morning time, not at our best.
Fran, I always thought you were on the west coast of Canada, but you aren't. You're on the east.
Yeah, it's not morning. By the time we're done, it's supper time.
So where are you located, Fran?
New Brunswick, same thing as Joan Edwards.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that interesting? Like, I don't know, like a half hour away of all of Canada to have somebody close like that.
Are you finished with the smoke now?
Oh, yeah, that stopped a long time ago. We've had like 2 weeks of rain. So the problem that came to the States was from Quebec. And Quebec had multiple fires because of a lot of forestry that had been cut down, and then the weed type trees grow up, you know, it wasn't well managed, and that was really what made it such a mess.
How
But
far east of Quebec are you?
well, Quebec, see, if from where I am, I actually parallel Maine, New Brunswick, okay? But if you go further north, a little bit more, we get into Quebec if we go to the north. And then Montreal is further east. So it's like a 12-hour drive by car, but you can get to Quebec going to the north within 2 hours.
Your audio's off, Fran.
Have I been talking all this time and nobody heard a thing?
No,
Not all
we
the
heard
No,
time.
we heard most of everything.
I don't know how that happened. Anyways,
A lingering finger.
I think I didn't touch my
Oh,
mouth.
sure.
Oh, sure, yeah. I know.
Hank mutes us, yeah.
Yeah. Weird things happen when I wear my headphones when I'm at work. Sometimes I just like adjust it and all of a sudden we're muted or disconnected. Because I'm not a sophisticated call center person, you know, I just know on and off. So that gets problematic. Anyways, it's very hot now. Unusually hot. And it is what it is.
Well,
Yeah,
we're a
parts
few
of
days,
Texas was like 114 or something. I heard on the news this morning. Parts of it.
Record breaking. Record breaking.
we're a few days into the beginning of summer.
Officially, yeah. But usually our summer is like a couple of days in August. So to have it now here, that's really overwhelming.
Well,
So
we've had a couple of days of summer, of sunshine, actually.
Yes,
May and most of June was overcast, which is our
beautiful.
gray
know.
May and
Yeah.
gloom
who
June.
was the lady who wrote the tales, the maid tales?
Oh, Maiden Tales. Yeah.
Maiden
Atwood?
Atwood.
Atwood, Margaret Atwood.
Yes, so she wrote a book, if you guys are interested in sci-fi-ish kind of, but she wrote a whole series. Well, there was a prequel and then a sequel, and it was about climate change and how over, there's 2 or 3 books, and this was like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago she wrote it. And she was so right on, you know, the last book, you know, everyone was just burning up and, you know, how are they going to stay alive? And very haunting to read now, but interesting if you're into sort of sci-fi, and she's a great storyteller.
All right, I'm gonna mute everybody except Will. And turn it over to him for this morning's presentation. You got it, Will.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk about function keys today. We all have them on our keyboards. And I don't know how many people use them or don't use them. I use mine quite a lot. I really find that it saves an awful lot of typing if I can just bring up things that are already pre-programmed into my function keys. But in looking into it, you know, there's a lot of uses for function keys and other special keys that various programs use. I'm only going to really be talking about the function keys today. If you need more information on all the other possible keystrokes that are in there, and they're literally, I don't want to say hundreds, but certainly dozens of different special keys, combination keys of alt, control, shift, escape, all those kind of things. Plus, adding those to function keys gives you, more than you can possibly ever probably use. And again, most programs have their own built-in special keys that they use. So let me bring up a spreadsheet, I'm sorry, a PowerPoint presentation here, and now we'll walk you through it. Just if I can get to my share screen. Okay, can everybody see this
Yes, Will.
PowerPoint? Okay. I haven't done a PowerPoint in a long time, and I've discovered that I had forgotten a lot of the functions that we can do. Really, I figure there are at least 5 different major types of special keys. There's the native Microsoft function keys, function F1 through F12. And by the way, I'm not going to go into what all these function keys do. If you want to know what they do, the best thing to do is do a Google search on it. There's zillion shortcuts and things out there to give you information. I'm just going to describe what you can possibly do with these, and then you need to look into it further. But the native function keys, like F1 usually is a help, and not only just for Microsoft, that usually is true for most programs, that F1 will bring up a help screen, or at least something to give you help. But then there's a whole lot of other standard functions that 1 through 12 that you can look up and see. A few of them I remember, but I rarely use those. Now, also built into Windows is the window key, which is in the lower left-hand corner, plus a function key. And that has a whole set of instructions that you can do. Then for various laptops, there are device-specific icons beneath the number key, beneath the function keys. And they usually show up as a small icon, and they do things like increase volume, decrease volume, switch between devices, various things. And they're not standard. I think they're different for maybe each device. Each laptop may have a different set of sub-function keys. And then there are the program-specific function keys, where no matter what program you bring up, they often have a set of function keys built into those, and you have to go search those out within the program. It will somewhere tell you what the various function keys do, or not only function keys, but other very specific combination of control and shift and all and those kind of things. And then the one that I like the best is number 5, which is the personalized function keys. I use that a lot. And for that, I need to use a third-party program to program those. And you can really program a function key to do anything from, several pages of text down to just your password or things like that. Okay. As I said, there are dozens of function keys. There's the control plus function key, alt plus function key, shift, and then combinations of those, control, alt, shift, those kind of things. For instance, as I use control, alt, shift, I believe I use to bring up my my special clipboard that I have. So we talked about program specific function keys that you can get, and these we just talked about, that they're the device-specific function keys. Now, there are programmable function keys. I haven't looked into the Microsoft. I think Microsoft has a built-in way to program your function keys. I really need to look into that. I use a program called Hotkeys, and it's a third-party program. I believe at one time it was free. I don't know that it is anymore, but with that, you can program your function keys to do anything you want them to do. You have to write a separate script, which is not difficult. It's pretty easy. You just tell it what keys you want and what you wanted to say. And I use that all the time on my computer, and I would recommend that for anybody who wants to really use the function keys. For instance, I have mine programmed right now for things like my email address, things that you have to bring up very often. It's a very easy way to do it. I have my wife's email address on there, social security number, my address, particularly my street address, so I don't have to type it out each time. Phone numbers, driver's license. I even put in a credit card number, the big long credit card number that I often use. It's a little dangerous, except this is not a laptop. This is a desktop computer, so nobody else essentially has access to it. So I'm not afraid of that particular problem. But again, you've got 12 different assignments, plus there are combinations of Alt and Shift and Control and Win keys that you can do. So you can have almost unlimited number of things that you can bring up. Now, these are the window control keys. They're not function keys, but you're all familiar with, the Control C for copy to a clipboard, and the Control V for paste it back, and Control P for print, and Control A for select all. And there's a whole bunch of these control keys and alt keys that you can use. And again, you need to go to the web and print out the various cheat sheets that they have for these. I find rather than making a template that fits on top of the function keys, I find it easier just to type out a list and Scotch tape it to the side of my monitor. But there's a couple of tutorials we ought to look at. Our friend Kevin Stratford has one here. I think I can maybe have it already up. Let me stop and share. Well, maybe I can just click it from here. Let's see if it works. Apparently not. Okay, I got a kick out of this, and then we'll go to that particular website. Okay, that's all. In fact, you want to ask some questions at this point, or do we want to go on and just watch the video? We can do whichever. Let's go watch the video. It's a little more complex than what I was talking about, and it'll give you more information about it. Let me stop sharing. Let me try sharing again and see if I can bring up that website. No, I don't. Oh, just a minute. Let me look again here. No, I'm sorry I can't get to it that way. Let me bring it up.
Let me try.
Pardon?
Let me try a minute. Kevin Stratford. Stratvert,
Stratford,
Function.
okay.
function keys. Kevin Stratford, function keys, let's see. Excel shortcut keys, no. He has one on 50 Excel keyboard.
No,
shortcuts.
this
No,
this is
that's
just a
Excel.
standard. Um, I think I can bring it up, Hank.
Nope.
I can get to it here just a minute. Da, da, da. Well, I got a problem.
Will, can you just copy that URL from whatever you're
We got it
showing?
going. It's going.
In case you're not aware, Will, you are not sharing that video right now.
Oh,
You need to
It-
stop sharing, leave the video up and ready, and then reshare and make sure you enable the sound when you do the sharing of the screen.
Start the video
I don't.
now that you're not sharing.
Yeah, I'll start it, but I can't find it. I can't find that screen.
It should be in your web browser, right?
Yeah, it should be, but I don't.
Maybe
see
it's
a
on another
web browser.
tab.
Then you go back to your presentation. While you're not sharing.
Yeah, I don't see. I don't see my
Can you pull up your PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, I can bring up the PowerPoint.
And the link to that Stratford video is in that PowerPoint.
Yeah,
If you go to that page of the PowerPoint while you're not sharing and click
okay,
on it,
let's,
it should begin to run. Then you can stop it. No, you're sharing again. That's right. Do not share. Go to PowerPoint. Find Kevin.
okay, let's see if we can get there this way.
Everyone, Kevin here today.
You were sharing when you clicked on that, and that doesn't work.
So,
Unshare, go back and click on that again. Wait till the video starts, then click on the video to stop it, and then share.
yeah, I got a real problem. I'm sorry, folks, I can't get to it.
How about reading? Wait a minute. Let me get to my YouTube page. Now read me the
You want the URL?
read me the URL.
Okay, fairly long one.
How about the cutting and pasting it into the chat?
Yep, you could do that too.
Well, we got a big
If you
problem.
cut and paste the whole URL for the
Well, okay. I can read it off to you quickly. www.youtube.com//watch question mark.
Wait a minute.
Small,
hold on. Okay, watch WATCH.
question mark,
Yep.
small v, equal sign, following caps.
What?
D,
What's
all the
after the
following are
equal?
all the following are caps. Okay. D, dog, A, Alice, L, love.
Hold
Q,
on, hold on. After the equal sign.
yeah, capital D, dog, A, Alice, L, love, Q, quiet, 7, X-ray, R, whatever R is, 1, Y,
R1,
R1, Y, Yahoo, lowercase v, the number 4,
lowercase what?
V Victor, number 4. And that's the end.
You mean just the number 4, not number sign 4.
No, just the number 4.
All right, let me see what happens. Search. Dark objects absorb more heat. Nope.
I've got it if you want me to run it.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Give me a moment.
My name is Kevin. Today we are going to look at a fun topic, the top shortcut keys in Windows 10.
Working.
With shortcut keys, you can save a lot of time, and chances are you're already using some shortcut keys.
Looks like you got it, Saul.
Yeah, but it's stuck.
You just need to run it. Yeah.
Look at a fun topic, the top shortcut keys in Windows 10. With shortcut keys, you can save a lot of time, and chances are you're already using some shortcut keys. Hopefully today I can show you some new shortcut keys that'll save you even more time. Now, first off, why should you even use shortcut keys? Well, every time you move your hand from your keyboard over to your mouse, you're wasting precious milliseconds that you could be spending elsewhere. Have you ever thought to yourself, hey, I wish I had more time in the day. I really wish I had more time. I'm strapped for time. Well, you should be using shortcut keys because shortcut keys can help you save time. Watching this video is a good investment of your time because you're going to end up even quicker using your computer. All right, well, enough talk. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's jump on the PC, and I'll start off with some of the most essential shortcut keys and then show you some new ones that you probably haven't seen before. All right, well, here I am on my Windows 10 desktop, and I have this nice little sheet open that I'm going to use to run through the different shortcut keys, and I'll demonstrate how each one of these works. What you can do is if you want to reference this, you can also look in the description of the video, and you'll find all these different shortcut keys within there. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start basic, so don't jump away if you already know some of these, but I wanted to start with a good foundation. The first one here is Control-C to copy. So I'm going to go ahead and press the Control-C key, and I've just copied that item. Well, what good is copying if you can't do something with it? And the next one is Control-V. What that does is it pastes the item I just copied. So I press Control-C to copy that. Now I'm going to press Control-V, and that'll paste the item that I just copied. So that's a very essential one, probably something you already knew. The next one is cutting, and what you can do with cutting, think of the X as a nice little cut there. I'm going to press Control-X, and that cuts the item. It's similar to copying, except it removes the original version or the item that I cut. And what I could do now is if I press Control-V here too, that'll paste it. So that'll work for both if you copy something or if you cut something. The next one that we're going to look at is undo. And what I could do with undo is, let's say I delete this line of text, and I'm going to delete that. Let's say I didn't mean to delete it. If I press Control-Z, what will happen is that item will reappear. So it basically undoes what I just did. But let's say actually I meant to delete it. What I could do is I could redo. So if I press Control-Y, that'll now delete it again. Or I could press Control-Z to undo, Control-Y to redo, Control-Z to undo. And you could go back and forth doing that. Now what's nice is you could also use that outside of just a text file. Let's say I delete this image file that I have on my desktop. I could press Control-Z and that'll bring it back, or Control-Y and that'll send it back to the recycle bin. Okay, the next thing that we're going to look at is how to delete an item, and you press Control-D to delete. So I have this headshot of me on my desktop. Let's say I don't want to have a picture of myself on my desktop. I'm going to press the Control-D key, and that's going to delete it and send it to my recycle bin. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on editing, and this is one that I didn't know for a long time, and this is something that I use now all the time, but Alt-Shift, up, down, arrow key moves bullets up and down. So I'm going to press Alt-Shift, and then up arrow, and that'll shift it up in my bulleted list, or I'll press the down arrow and that'll move it down. What I always did in the past is I would cut it, I would pick a new line, I'd paste it, and that took a lot of time. Instead, Control Shift, up arrow, down arrow, very nice way to move items up and down a bulleted list. All right, well, those are some of the basic essential shortcut keys that I typically use for editing. Let's jump down and see what else we have. The next section that we're going to look at is find and search. Now with Control F, you could find text. So I'm going to press that. I'm here in OneNote right now. If I press Control F, what that'll do is that'll bring up my find dialog, and here I'll search for control. And so it highlights all instances of that in my document. I can even bring up something like Notepad, and here too, let's say I go to the beginning and I press Control F. I'll type in Kevin, and then it finds all references to Kevin. You could do that in a browser. You could do that in any window within Windows 10 to find items. Aside from just finding text, one thing that you could do is you might want to find an app on your machine. You might want to find a document. And what you could do is press the Windows key and Q. So I'm going to press Windows Q. So you could think of Q as query, and that's why they have a Q, and that brings up the search dialog, and then you could just type for something. So let's say I want to open Word. I just type Word. You could also press Windows S, S as in search, and so I press that, and that also brings up the search dialog. Or if you really don't want to press two keys, what you could also do is simply press the Windows key on its own. That brings up the start menu, and here too I could type in Word. What it does is when you open up the start menu, it places the default focus in the search field, and I could just start typing that way as well. So that's a way that I could find and search across my PC. Moving on, the next thing, this is something that's useful in both documents, on the web, or even in something like File Explorer, but different selection commands. We're going to start with the first one here. To select all, you press Control and the A key at the same time. And so there, when I press it once, it selects a line. When I press it again, it selects the entire document. So kind of a very nice one. Also, Control-click to select multiple items. Let me open up File Explorer to demonstrate this. So here I have a whole bunch of different images that I've recently touched, and if I press the Control key with my mouse click, I can select multiple items here.
Look at this guitar pattern. What you're looking at is the key that unlocks the guitar neck forever. It lets you hit without thinking. It lets you flow up and down
The next thing I could also do is if I want to select multiple items, I could press Control, I could press Shift plus click at the same time. So we're going to go back to this example. Let's say I want to select all of these files. Well, I could go through and press Control, click to select all of them, or I could simply press the Shift key and click, and that'll select all of them. So a nice little use of the Control key and the Shift key. What I can also do is, let's say you're selecting text, you could use the Shift key in this situation as well, where I press the Shift and the arrow key and I could select text. What's nice is you could combine that with the Control key now, so Shift, Control, and arrow, and you could select multiple words. So also a very nice way. You could also do the down key if you want to select down a row, or the up key to select up a row. So kind of nice technique to select items. Moving down, these are Windows commands that you could use to manage your windows. One of the first ones that we're going to look at is Alt-Tab. So if you press the Alt-Tab key, what you can do is you could jump through all the windows that you have open on your desktop. When you open this view, as long as you continue holding the Alt key, this view will stay up, and then you could use the arrow key to go through, or you could use the mouse key as well to go through and select the window that you want to jump to. So kind of a nice way to navigate between open windows. Let's say I want to close a window, a very quick way to do that. So let's say I have the calculator open and I don't really want to calculate anything right now. What I could do is I press the Alt key and the F4 key to close a window. So let's go ahead and press Alt F4, and that window is gone. It has disappeared. The next one, this is one that I recently learned that I'm really digging and I really like, but you press the Windows key and the number key to open up an app on your taskbar, and the number that you press corresponds with the position on the taskbar starting from the left. So here I have Outlook as my first tile, followed by Edge, followed by File Explorer. So let's say I want to open Outlook. What I do is I press Windows and the 1 key, and that'll open Outlook. Let's say I want to open Word. That's the fourth one on my taskbar. I press Windows 4 and that'll pop up Word. So really a nice way to open up items on your taskbar. So what you want to do is make sure you have your most essential apps on the left of your taskbar because that way you'll be able to take advantage of that shortcut key. Another very nice one that's available. So let's say this window here, what I could do is the Windows key and arrow keys, I could snap this window to different positions on my desktop. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press Windows and then right, it'll snap it onto the right side of my screen, Windows left, and it'll bring it over to the left. I have to press it twice. One time I'll just put it in the middle, and then once again it'll put it on the side. I could also do up, down, left, up, or I could even go full screen. So you could just play around with those different options of pressing the Windows key and the arrow key to move your windows into different positions. One of the nice ones, let's say I have this window open, I want to see my desktop. I press Windows D to see the desktop. So there's Windows D, now I can see my desktop. Press Windows D again, and that'll toggle back and forth between the windows you had open and the desktop in back. You could also press Windows M, which minimizes all windows. However, the downside is you can't press it again to toggle back the windows that you just minimized. So two different options. I tend to use Windows D because I like the ability to toggle back and forth. Typically, I just want to go back to the desktop, open a file, and then jump back to what I was doing. These are a few Windows management shortcut keys. Next, we're going to look at some browser navigation keys. Now, when we're on our PC, we spend much of our time within the browser. So knowing some good browser shortcut keys is pretty helpful. The first one that we're going to use is Alt Left or Alt Right to navigate forward and back. And what I mean by that is, here I am on the New York Times website, and it looks like the coronavirus is top in the news here. So I'm going to click in and look at this article. And what I could do now is if I press the Alt Back key, that'll send me back to the previous page. Alt Right, what that'll do is that'll bring me forward one page. So I can navigate forward and back using those shortcut keys. The next one, Control T to open a new tab. So I'm going to open up the browser again. Let's say I want to open a new tab. I press Control T, a new tab is opened. And then let's say I want to go to Facebook. I could go there. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go back to the sheet. And what I can do next is Control Shift T brings up a closed tab. So I'm going to go back to the browser. Let's say I don't want to go to Facebook. I'm going to close this window. What I could do is I'll press Control Shift T, and that'll open the window that I just had open. Now this one's a little dangerous. When you close a tab on your browser, keep in mind that someone could always reopen that tab that you just closed. Just a little pro tip there. When you can also do some nice little navigation shortcuts, we're going to look at these next two together, but Control Tab, that'll move to the next tab, and Control Shift Tab moves to the previous tab. What do I mean by that? So what we're going to do is, here I am in my browser, I have 4 tabs open, we're going to press Control Tab, and that always jumps to the tab to the right. And then if I add in the Shift key, Control Shift Tab, it goes in the other direction, and this will navigate to the left. So kind of a nice quick way to navigate through all your open tabs in your browser. And lastly, what I want to show, the last one that I have on this list, is the F5 key or Control R to refresh the web page. So we're going to open the browser again, and let's say, I don't know, is this still the top story? Let me press F5 to refresh. It just refreshed the page. It looks like nothing's changed. That's still the top story. Control R does the exact same thing. So two different ways. The Control R, the R stands for refresh, which is why that's the shortcut key.
At Capital One, we developed an internal machine learning platform.
Okay, those are a few quick browser navigation shortcut keys. Let's move on. The next section that we're going to look at is how to zoom in or out on your window. This isn't something I use that often, but it is interesting to be able to do it. But you press the Windows key and the plus key, or the Windows key and the minus key. So here I'm going to press Windows plus. You'll see that opened up the magnifier. And now if I press Windows plus, it'll allow me to zoom in, and then I could move around as I'm zoomed in. This is actually a really annoying thing that you could do to people, where you set their computer into zoom and then you walk away and they don't know how to get out of zoom unless they find the little magnifier up here. You could also press Windows minus, and that'll zoom out again, but kind of a neat little shortcut key if you want to zoom in to check on the details of something. This next one is very interesting. I don't think many people know about this, but Windows 10 comes with something called Virtual Desktop. A virtual desktop, this is my desktop right here. What I can do is I can open up additional desktops. What's the advantage of that? Well, let's say you're working on, let's say, a project or maybe a school project. and maybe you have all your personal browsing in one desktop, and then you want a separate desktop with all your project files. Well, you can do that with virtual desktops. I'm going to show you how to set it up simply, and then we're going to show you how to do it with shortcut keys. But so the way you set this up is you do it through the task view, and to get to the task view, you press the Windows key and the Tab key. So we're going to press Windows Tab. This opens up the task view, so I can see all the windows that I've recently engaged with. I can also scroll through time. There's this little option up here called New Desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and now I have a second desktop. So when I go to my second desktop, I don't have any apps active within this desktop. So now I could jump back to my previous desktop that I had open by going back into the task view, and here I could select the desktop that I want to jump to. What I could do with shortcut keys, Windows Control D, what that'll do is Windows Control D will open up a new desktop. So there's a new desktop, and then Windows Control arrow left goes back to the previous desktop, or to the right to go to the last desktop that I added. And let's say you don't want a desktop anymore. You press Windows Control F4, and that'll close the desktop, Windows Control F4, and I'll get rid of that desktop. So just a neat way you could use shortcut keys to manage your virtual desktops. Moving on, the next one that we're going to look at is how to project to an external monitor. You press the Windows and the P key, and what that does is it opens up the project dialog on the side. I only have one PC monitor hooked up to this computer, so I'm on the PC screen only. But let's say you had a second monitor. You could duplicate, you could extend your view, or you could only project. Let's say you have a laptop hooked up to a desktop monitor. You could have it so it only goes on that second screen. So a few different options that you could do here. I use this quite often, especially if I'm projecting to, let's say, a projector. Lastly, I want to finish off with the category that I called others. These are other shortcut keys that don't fit within their own category, or they don't fit within a clear category with many other shortcut keys, but these are also very handy ones to know. Control-Shift-Escape opens up Task Manager. I'm going to go ahead and press that. Task Manager is nice if you want to kill an app on your computer, or if you want to see how much of your CPU or your memory or your, let's say, your Ethernet that you're taking advantage of or using. You could do that with Task Manager. So I'm going to go ahead and let's close that. Control P, this is probably one that most people know. This prints out a document, so it opens up the print dialog, and I could then print all these very useful and valuable shortcut keys. I'm not going to do this one right now, but I use this at work quite often. The Windows key and L will lock my PC, and to be able to use it again, I need to enter my password. Windows E will open up File Explorer, so I'm going to go ahead and press Windows E, and here's File Explorer. If you want to jump to your files, your pictures, wherever you want to go, Windows E will get you there. So quite easy to pull up. And the last one, this one on its own is also an awesome shortcut key. It's not very well known, but it has a lot of power. I'm going to press Windows G, and what that does is it brings up something called the Xbox Game Bar. Now, you might be thinking, well, hey, I'm not a gamer. What do I want to do with the Game Bar? Well, what you can do with the Game Bar is you could use this as a screen recorder. It has its own set of shortcut keys like Windows Alt R to start recording. But what you can do here is you could hit record, and it'll record whatever you're doing on your computer, record the app that you're in. And it's a free and easy screen recorder that comes with Windows 10. You get to it with Windows G. All right, well, that was a quick look at some of my favorite and top shortcut keys within Windows 10. By taking advantage of these shortcut keys, you can save some precious milliseconds. You don't have to lift your hand off the keyboard and move it over to the mouse. Instead, you could stay on the keyboard and hopefully gain some efficiencies. I hope you learned some new shortcut keys today in this video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. That way I know these different shortcut keys helped you out. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get a notification anytime new content like this comes out. And lastly, if there are any other videos that you want to see me cover on this channel, leave a comment down below. I read them all and I'll add it to my list of videos to create in the future. All right, well, that's all I had for you today. Enjoy saving time, and I'll see you next time. Hi everyone,
Back to you.
my name is Kevin. Today we are going to look at a fun topic.
I have put the link to that video in the chat. if you all want to copy it and take it home and play it a little slower. Yes, Fran?
Back to Will.
Okay, so I have a question. When you use hotkey or whatever and reprogram a function key, do you then lose the original function key?
That's a question for Will, right?
Yes.
Will, you
you're
need to
muted.
unmute your microphone.
Yeah, like if you use F1 and redesigned it, do you lose the ability to hit F1 and get help?
No, with the programmed function keys, you have to hold, I have it set up to where you have to hold down the Alt key plus the
Okay.
function key. And so
Okay.
that sort of disables what the resident function keys are, that you
Okay.
just press the function key alone.
Okay, that was my big
yeah.
question.
I really recommend these programmable function keys, because then you can put anything in there that you want. I use it a lot for entering my email address whenever it asks for it, which it does several times a day. And rather than typing it in, I just hit Alt F something, forgotten what. Oh, Alt F3, and it just brings up the email address. But I use it a lot, particularly for putting in a credit card number, big, long credit card number. I don't want to have to type that every time. So I have that programmed into a function key.
Who
And
knows to
also
do
street
that?
address and phone numbers and things like that. It's really very handy to have those as function keys.
I have another question. This might be for Ross. Are there keyboards that come with empty programmable keys? I think so, come to think of it.
I'm not aware of keyboards that have extra keys like that so that you can program it. But you might find something like that on eBay or through Amazon to do. So you're saying you basically don't want to have to reprogram an existing key. You
Yeah,
want to have a new key that you put a program against.
yeah. Some of the gaming keyboards might have that. You're not sure? Okay.
I've seen some that have some other functions on there, but again, there's going to have to be some software that goes along with it that says that it uses it for that particular game or whatever you want to have for that.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing I want to say is that, like, the ones that he started out with, they look so juicy. And what happens though, like for the delete, you have to use the mouse unless you're real 100% keyboard savvy manipulating. You use the mouse to get a point, and then you take off the mouse to use a keyboard. So it's almost easier to just right click at that point. I find that with my medical programs, some are instant keyboards and some of them I got shortcuts, but I still got to get to the place using the mouse. So they sound great, but you got to be real savvy on the keyboard to really use them, not just those.
I kind of found the same thing when trying to use the voice to text programs, that to enter in the text, say you open up Word or Outlook, and then you type in or read in the information that you want to have in there. But when you want to go back to edit, it was very cumbersome to me to say, go up 3 lines, over 4 characters, and now insert or delete at that point. I found that using a mouse was much, much more efficient.
Sammy? You're muted.
This presentation was applicable to only Windows?
I believe so, yes.
Mostly, yes.
I would assume, maybe Saul knows or David knows within Mac, if you can reprogram the keys on the keyboard. I would assume you can, but everything that we have been speaking of today was for Windows.
So to answer Sammy's question, many of the keyboard shortcuts, really common stuff like cut, copy, paste, and so forth on the Mac, work exactly as in Windows, except you use the Command key instead of the Control key. So Command A would select all, You know, Command C would copy, Command X would cut, Command V paste. As far as programming function keys on the Mac, if you go into the system preferences and you go into the one for the keyboard, there will be a tab in there for the function keys, and you can program any function key or combination of keys any way you want.
Okay. I might want to talk to you further on that, so.
That's fine.
Other questions about this subject before we go to Q&A?
Guess not.
Okay,
Dan has his hand up.
yes, he does. He didn't, but he does now. Dan.
Are you there, Dan?
Dan, we're not hearing you if you're trying to say something, and you're not muted, so.
Well, let's move on to Sharon Beckus.
Yep. Sharon?
Yep, I'm here. I just had to unmute. I just got another modem yesterday from AT&T. And because of the convenience that they do the maintenance for me, it's worth it for me to pay $10 a month. But my issue was there's so many things that I haven't organized properly. So I'm getting some feedback from persons such as I need to write down the name of the device that I have, when I purchased it, the model number, the serial number. And now yesterday I learned all about having to have a MAC address. So when I go into my settings on my AT&T, I can see if there's other devices and their MAC addresses, whether or not there's something that I own or someone's got into there or whatever. So how do people keep what suggestions you have to put together an item when you purchase something? What should be the key things to be in there? That's my question.
Ross?
For me, originally when I have a new device like that, and I'm trying to get the information so I can enter it in, say with that internet provider, I take a photograph of it in my cell phone, and then I can bring that up. Now, how you would organize those so that you can easily find those, I don't know if a Word document or word processor document page where you can put the picture and then notes in there saying, you know, AT&T modem and the purchase date and the price and all the other things that you have in there. I don't have an organized way to say, here's a database that I use. And where it would allow you then to enter that information in or prompt you for that information. And again, be able to put in a photograph. I would probably just use a Word document and create the information in there myself and just name it so that I can find it and put it in a folder, say, you know, computer equipment or something like that.
And Ross, that's great advice. And I just started doing that yesterday. So when he was taking the box away, I said, oh, wait, let me get a photo. So I got a photo of it and it has all the information to put it together. But prior purchases over the last 10 years, I guess we need to know what kinds of things should we do when we get a new device besides take a photo, you know, what put down whether you have extended warranties or what all the other stuff to make it so you can refer to it later when somebody asks you. That's all.
There's no default list that I have on there to say this is what I need to do. Making a copy of, say, your receipt that you have for it, because the receipt then should show that kind of information on there. So like if you buy something from Costco, it tells you the dates and everything that you bought it, and then the receipt number, so you can go back in and get your warranty through that particular company. But the camera on the phone has been a fantastic memory device for me and makes it so that I can reach the phone around and do a click on the back of the computer and not have to get down so far and turn the computer around to take a picture of it.
Okay, and then and the last part of it is when I get a MAC address, I did some web searches to find out what do I do with a MAC address if it says unknown device. So I found websites to put that hexadecimal or whatever in there to find out. So
It's one of a million devices. A MAC address, when you manufacture something, that manufacturer is allocated a block of addresses to use. And then they, on a network card or anything that has a network interface on it, has a unique MAC address. So again, if you take that MAC address and you can go online and it says, oh, this is a modem. Oh, no, that's a network card. Oh, whatever it is. And then what they're asking for is so they can find your, AT&T is trying to find your modem across all of the internet. So you give them that and say, here's my MAC address. And they go, oh, okay. And then they associate that MAC address for your modem in your account.
well, all your devices have a MAC address too. All my devices have a MAC address.
All devices that have a network interface on them
Right.
required to have a MAC address. Now, what some devices let you do is you can go in and modify that MAC address. So let's say you have an address for an existing modem. Some devices allow you then to take that existing MAC address and stamp it onto the new modem. So then things are the same. Most devices have a fixed MAC address and you can't go in and change it.
Okay, thanks.
Fran,
Does anybody have any other suggestions for programming your own keys, or is hotkeys the best, or anybody have any other suggestions?
I think Microsoft has a reprogram your function keys program in it. I haven't looked into that, but it kind of suggests that they do. Anybody know? I'll do a Google search on it and find out.
There is for the Microsoft keyboard and Microsoft mouse, there is software specifically from Microsoft for those keyboards and mice. And there may be a way in those to program a Microsoft keyboard or mouse. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is Microsoft doesn't make them anymore. They've gotten out of the business of making keyboards and mice. So if you happen to have one, then you might be able to use that software, but it's going away.
And I use this hotkeys program, but I expect there are several others out there that allow you to reprogram your function keys. I haven't looked into that, but I think when I originally got hotkeys, it was for free. I would expect by now and that was many years ago. I would expect by now they probably charge for it, but not a whole lot. It's a very, very useful program. And but you do have to write a script for it. It's a little daunting at first, but it's really simple. You just tell it, what keys you want to use and what you want it to say. It's very simple.
Debbie,
Yeah, my question is on my Yahoo email account. Lately, I've been getting emails going to my spam, and they are not spam, and they're people that I have communicated with by email for years, and it's only been happening recently, and I'm just wondering why that's happening and what I can do to prevent it.
So all of the companies, all the internet providers, all the email providers, I should say, are trying to come up with ways to cut down on the amount of spam. So they are massaging, changing that filter all of the time. The best way I can suggest is that you, first of all, make sure that you have those contacts in your contact list. That is a first step to make sure that they will end up in the inbox. Other than that, when you're in your spam folder, there should be a way in there to select an email and say, no, this is not spam, and hopefully it'll move it out. But it's unknown magic as far as what we know, as far as why this email has marked as spam and why the next one is not. Even if it's from the same person, it's dependent upon what's in the email. When an email comes in, your program, your internet provider, or excuse me, email provider looks at that email and says, okay, we see that doesn't have a subject line in here. It has a lot of HTML in there. It has a strange email address, and it comes up with a score and says this email has a potential of 27, let's say, out of 100 is going to be a spam. And then they will put it into the folder depending on whether that's above or below whatever the threshold is. But those things, yes, are changing all of the time, and it's kind of difficult to keep up with.
Yeah, one was even, as I recall, a reply from me, like a friend of mine that I emailed, and then she replied to me and it went to my spam. And that I thought was, and she's in my contact list. It's, you know, someone I email frequently. That was really surprising.
So what we do for a business person is that when they're having trouble sending to one of their clients, is we try to have them send as blank an email as possible. Just have your typed name in the body of the email to the other person and see if it gets there. If that doesn't get there, then it's being blocked by the email address somewhere. If that gets there, then you go back in and you put the signature or the other disclaimer notes that they put at the bottom. Sometimes if in those notes and the disclaimer messages on the bottom, they'll have links. And if it takes it to a country that your spam filter says, no, I'm not going to let you go to anywhere there, and it will block it because of that. But it's kind of tedious to do that. That being said, we find that the Gmail accounts are the easiest to deal with. They seems to be the most, they filter the spam for me very well, and I have very few emails that end up in my spam folder that are legitimate emails.
So what would be a spam email?
Whatever the company that's doing the filtering decides. It's all up to them, and we have no visibility in there to say, do this, don't do that. Now,
Yeah,
if you're saying
maybe I'm not asking my question correctly. I mean, what does a spam email mean? Does that mean that it's a fraud or a scam that someone's trying to?
So again,
you know,
your email program and or internet email provider has the ultimate say that this particular email is a spam or it's not. As far as saying, oh, I can look at this and say it has one of these and that's not allowed. We don't have that. And those are the things that keep changing, is they change their minds when they find that the spammers find a way to get through. They go back in and modify those filters to try to get rid of those particular emails. The only thing you can really do is to go into your spam filter and use whatever tools they give you there to say, this is not a spam. But you need to constantly, I check my spam filter a couple times a day to
when
make
you
sure
say
that
spam filter, what is, do you mean the spam where it says, you know,
where
inbox and
it depends on your email program. So if it may say spam, it may say junk, it may say junk email. That's the folder that the spam is being put into.
okay, and spam means that it's a crook, basically. It's someone trying to.
I guess I'm not making myself clear. The program or the email provider has ultimate say to say this particular email is a spam. We have no way to know exactly why that email was marked as spam. It's whatever that program / email provider decided that says this particular one is an email. From there, all we can do is mark it within that program to say, no, this is not spam. And hopefully the next time that you get that type of an email, that it will not go into the spam folder. But again,
Okay,
to
so
say
there's somewhere in the spam folder where I click on a specific email, and then there's somewhere in there, I don't have one now to look at, but I will see something that says this is not spam.
right. So if I do that in Gmail, if I go now, that's a point here. Gmail, I use on my system for one of my email addresses. If I want to make sure that Gmail does not mark that email as spam, then I have to look at that email on the web at gmail.com. For there, when I say this is or is not spam, that records that in my Gmail account online. I use a program called Outlook, and there's Thunderbird, and there's Microsoft Mail. All of those are what are called email clients. They work on your local computer. If you educate that filter, that's not educating it at Gmail or at whatever company you're using for email. So if you're using it through the web, then you do it all through the web. And that's where, when you educate it and say, no, these emails right here, I don't think are spam, please don't block them anymore. And that's dependent upon, in Hotmail, you would do that by going to hotmail.com and sign in. And then when you look at that filter, that folder where that junk/spam is, you should have options at the top there to say this particular email is not spam.
Excuse me a moment. Debbie, were you asking what spam means as a definition?
Well, that also, yeah.
Because obviously Ross understands the term, but I don't know that Debbie knew what the term spam means. And it just means that whoever's doing those filters that Ross was talking about thinks it's a suspect email. It's sort of like junk mail you get in your postal service.
Okay. That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you, Sal.
I don't know that it's been said that you can identify an email that you get as being spam if you decide to do that.
No,
Yes.
I've never gotten a spam email, a suspicious email ever, but I don't use it a lot. I don't use a computer a lot. And I use my Yahoo email because it's the one I've had for so many years. It's what everyone has. I have no intention of changing that. I do have another Gmail email, but I don't want to use it. So I'm referring only to my Yahoo email.
So I might mention with Gmail, you can tell it to go get any other email that you want and bring it into one place, which would be at Gmail. When you do that, it also then, when any email that comes in will be secondary filtered through the Gmail email filled spam folder. That's why I help people get off of whatever other email that they're using that they're having a problem with. So if, in other words, if you're saying I'm starting to have trouble with my Yahoo account, but I want to make sure that I still get all my Yahoo emails, then you would start using your Gmail account and tell Gmail, go get my Yahoo email and bring it into one place. And then it will help you transition away from the other one, because any new emails that you send out will come from that new email, from your new Gmail account. So it'll,
So
again,
you're saying basically to have Yahoo forward the emails to Gmail.
I understand what you're saying. That's another way to do it, but then you're dependent upon Yahoo. I would do it the other way. Say, again, Gmail works very well for me in all the features that it has. And I would tell Gmail, please go get all those emails for me.
Thank you.
Right. Dan?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. What I wanted to say before was I use a Chromebook, and the Chromebook doesn't have any function keys, just for information. The way I got the microphone to work is the up caret to the right of the microphone, and it lets you select a microphone, and it's the same as system, which didn't work, and now I have internal mic checked and it does work. Okay, so that takes care of that. The other thing I wanted to make people aware of is, let's see if I can turn my video on. Today's paper has an article on home security cameras bear risk of hacking.
Sure. A camera,
So that-
the internet-based camera is accessible from, depending on how you set it up, can be accessible many different ways. That's what makes it nice for you to be able to have and get to that information. But yes, you have to be careful and go through the security steps to say, only I want to be able to see that, and I only want to be able to see it here and not there.
Well, this is a long article and it goes into securing your camera.
Great.
Where is
What
it,
I-
Dan? Is it on the front page or somewhere else?
It's in the home and garden section. Where would you expect it to be? And it's section E,
Thank you.
page 1. I thought I could show it on the camera, but I guess
You
I
did
don't.
show it.
Yeah, we
You're
can
moving
see
it
that.
around, so it's hard to see.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, we just.
right here.
Hold it still, sir.
Okay.
I worked with another client yesterday who had been paying for the Union Tribune and decided she didn't use it enough and didn't want to pay for it anymore, but still wanted to look at the web page. I use the Brave browser to access Union Tribune. So there's a browser from a company called Brave, and it has additional different security features, kind of like for Firefox or the other ones. But it lets me go to uniontribune.com and go in and look at the web page and open up the links that are in there. So it's a way for you to say, I want to look at this information on an occasional basis, but you don't have to pay for a subscription to Union Tribune to see it.
As I recall, like $1 a week allows you to do the online version. It was really inexpensive.
I like to have the physical paper to read, and it's over $900 a year right now.
Wow.
Barbara? You're muted.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I just wanted to ask Ross, if I get my Yahoo Mail forwarded to Gmail, is it deleted then from Yahoo?
So again, I would go into the Gmail program itself in the settings that are there. And I
Okay.
can help you with that if you can't find where you Google for that. You do that in the settings and say, get my email from Yahoo or whatever email account that you want, or the multiples. And then once you bring it into the local computer through your local Gmail account, if you move it to another folder, delete it, whatever you do with it there, it does then reflect back in the original email program. It doesn't have to delete it. So when it brings it in, it's still there at Yahoo. If you delete it from Yahoo, if you delete it from within the Gmail account, it does disappear off of the online Yahoo.
Okay, and you could put if it's transferred to Gmail, you can still put it into different file folders in Gmail.
You can have it. So what I do is I just have it bring everything into one inbox. But then it marks each email that if it says it came in from this Roadrunner account or my Cox account, it marks that on that email. And I can see, oh, it came in from this one. Or you can decide when you set it up to say all my email that comes in from my Yahoo account, put it into a Yahoo folder. So it's all in one place. And you could put that Yahoo folder at the same level as your inbox or make another folder called inbox-Yahoo. And you would have it all there if you want to segregate it. So it's however you want to do it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ross.
Don Raymond?
I have a security camera self-inflicted issue that you may find humorous. In the early days of security cameras, I decided to use a lot of them. So I stuck them all over the place, and I was photographing. I live at basically the end of a cul-de-sac, and I had all the cars coming in there, and I could see the whole thing. So my wife and I take off, and we go to Houston, see our daughter in Houston. So I want to use my new security cameras. Off my phone even, I can see the security cameras. Okay, so I pull up my phone, and look at the security camera that shows the parking lot in front of my house. There's a giant white box truck that pulls into the end of the cul-de-sac, and the door opens on the whole truck, and the camera goes out. So I'm standing there with a box truck with people getting out of it 5,000 miles from it. And some guy gets out of, got moving guys get out of the box truck and they disappear going to my house and the camera's gone. I mean, so I, went into panic mode. Okay, my technology had shot me in the foot. And so I ended up calling my neighbor and I said, is there really a box truck in front of my house? And he said, yep, it's out there. It's white. It's pretty good size. And I said, could you please open the door, open your front door and tell me where the people are going? Is it my house? And so he opens the door and looks out there and says, no, Don, they're not going to your house. They're going to your neighbor's house. So security cameras are wonderful gadgets, but watch out for power failures.
Is that what happened to your camera? A power failure?
Yeah, power failure.
It was just coincidental. It was just coincidental that it happened at that time.
Well, it was coincidental, but it was also very blood pressure rising. It also made me wonder about, you need a backup system for everything in life. And one is your security camera. And that backup system's call your neighbor and say, hey, is my front door open with some guy going in and out? Because I just saw him get out of the box truck.
Wow.
Pat.
Oh, well, actually, I got a couple of things. First of all, well, actually, just relating to what Don said is that the gal that takes care of my house, she's a contractor and, goes all over the, state for the most part. And she was gone one time and that did actually happen to her. Her neighbors, she didn't know her neighbors that well, but I guess somebody knew that she was gone and they came to her house and took everything out, just totally wiped her out. So, and then for some reason or other, insurance companies never paid for whatever reason. I forgot exactly why. That was a few years ago. But what I really wanted to mention was on the email accounts. I have to watch when I do email because I've got about 3 that I work with and I sometimes interplay with them. So when I send an email, I have to make sure I'm sending it from where to where I want to receive it. In other words, not from where I'm at, but from where I want to get it. So I do that if that's, that's an issue, might be part of the issue. And the other thing I wanted to tell Dan was that I'm only paying a little over $600 a month for my
year.
Yeah, a year. Thank you. Never a month, that's for sure. Not even if the decimal point was moved over actually, but yeah, for a year, a little over that. But you have to give them a call and, kind of question them and all that. And so, but it's worth a phone number because it usually drops at about $10 a month. So that was it. I have another question, but I think it's an Apple question, so we won't go into that one.
Okay,
Thank
Fran?
Ross, does Brave, is that something useful for other websites that are paywalls that you otherwise can't get into?
It's all dependent upon that particular website and how Brave interacts with it. So for when people say, well, what browser should you use? And I'm going to tell you, I won't say don't use this one and always use that one. Primarily, I use Google, but I use Internet Explorer, Brave, Firefox, Safari, all of the browsers out there, depending on what web page I'm going to. It used to be more of a problem for bank websites, that when you would use a particular browser, it wouldn't work properly. And the bank would say, we want you to use this particular browser, and you need to do that. Because when you visit a web page, the web page interrogates your computer and says, what kind of a computer is it? what version of the operating system is it using, what browser are you using, and then it loads that particular web page onto your local computer in your browser to work with. So if you use a different browser, it is, again, it's a completely different web page that's coming down from the provider.
Thank you. And just a Mac tidbit. On my Mac, if you have a Mac, there's an option to, when you go to a website, reader view only. And I find if there's a website like New York Times, which I used to pay for, but stopped it for a number of political reasons. But if I go to text reader view, the whole article is there. Not only that, you can go and press print, and down in the bottom left where it says PDF, you can print to email, and you can email yourself a PDF of the whole site that you otherwise would have to pay for.
Okay, great.
That's interesting. Oh, just a point of information I almost forgot, and I was wondering if someone had a comment on this. But I was down to Apple, seeing about a new computer and new phone and all this, because this stuff is probably not going to be supported for too much longer. And what they were saying was to not buy now, that they're going to be having a new operating system come out in September. So wait till September, October. So does that sound correct or what?
Tomorrow, things will be cheaper than they are today on all of them. Use the old one that you have for as long as you can, and then upgrade to what is what is most popular at that point. Upgrading from one operating system to another operating system, a different OS X, that's relatively simple. I wouldn't say, no, I can't buy a computer because if your computer is working fine, great. Waiting till September, okay, that's fine. I would have you verify if you look online through Costco, you can buy Apple computers from. Now, they don't have all the ones that you can get from apple.com, but they do have laptops and then the Mac Minis. And I kind of think that the Mac Mini is a good option for a lot of people because it's a lower cost device from Apple. And then you just put a standard monitor that you can buy from Costco for $100, $150. And then you have your full Mac M2, lots of RAM, lots of solid state drive space. And then if you buy it from buy it from Costco, you have 2-year warranty where you only have 1 through Apple. So it's another option. Now, I have ordered Macs from Apple, the Apple store, and had them delivered to the customer's home in less than 2 hours. And that's kind of a nice feature too. When you order it, and because the customer's down, you plug it in, and then we move everything across from one computer to the other, as long as it was backed up through their iCloud account. So they're reasonable devices, but there's just other ways to buy them.
Dan?
Yes, when you're accessing some of those newspapers like the New York Times in particular, what I found is they'll let you access and get one article maybe or two. And if you then go back and clear your cookies, you can go back to the site that you were on and get some more articles, because that's the way they keep track of it. They put a cookie on your computer. So if you go to your browser and go to cookies, and you can select the cookies you want, some browsers, you can select the cookie you want to delete, and you look at the recent cookies if you just did it, or look for the name if you didn't just do it. And then you can go back to that site and do whatever you wanted to. It's just like voting on some of these sites. you can vote one time and then they can't vote again. If you clear the cookie, you can go back and vote again. So that's just a way to get around some of the restrictions that they put on you for accessing their website.
That's
So-
handy,
so-
Jan, thanks.
Just a quick question on the clearing the cookies. I don't think I ever do that. All right, I did it a couple times when they told me I had to. But when you're clearing the cookies, are you clearing all the cookies, or can you just clear the cookies from that website?
You can select selected cookies on some browsers. It depends on which browser you're using. Sometimes you have to delete all the cookies, and that gets you into some other difficulties sometimes because you lose some information that you had. But with the browser I'm using, Safari, you can go back and select cookies and just delete the ones that you want to delete.
So you're using Safari, did you say?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
So to delete cookies and clean up temporary files, I've used a program called CCleaner, and there is a version for Mac. And one thing that's nice with that is if you have multiple browsers on your computer, it will go in and delete the cookies for all the browsers that you have. Now, it may not get rid of the one that you're looking for, as Dan is mentioning, for New York Times, but the program again, CCleaner has worked very well for me to clean a lot of things up quickly.
Well, she was asking for selected cookies and not all the cookies.
So when you go through and you tell it to search, it'll go through and says, here's what we find. And you can disable the ones that you don't want to remove. So it does give you that option. It's just not one button that nukes everything. In general, I have not had a problem using this program and letting it decide which ones to keep and which ones to get rid of. But again, you have those options and you can restore those.
Hello?
Okay.
Dan, Will, excuse me.
I discovered that American Express site does not allow me to log on using Chrome. I have to use the Microsoft browser for that. And that someone just talked about that earlier. A second thing, I find that when somebody raises their hand, that when a little bar comes across the top, it announces that they want to talk. And is there a way to turn that off? I've never seen it before. Anybody else see that?
It must be something you see as a presenter.
I see it.
Yeah, it
maybe
says
it's a
Will
co-host.
Wakely is raised
Maybe
his
it's
hand.
a co-host thing. Will, let me un-co-host you.
Will,
Okay,
go
that
to
may-
the
see if it
top
right, there's a
little X. Yeah, that may be it. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That took care of it. Thank you. Okay, other comments, other questions? We're getting up to the
Q&A
magic
type
hour.
questions. All right, I think that means that I'll see you next week. I hope that somebody will provide a subject for a presentation next week, because right now I have nothing. Anyone has something they want discussed, please send me an email or go to YouTube and use that search box at the top of the YouTube page, and man, you find the most interesting things.
I was doing PowerPoint and discovered that I had forgotten a lot about how to do a PowerPoint. Anybody else interested in a tutorial on PowerPoint? If not, I'll just do it on my own.
I see a nodder, head or two.
I work with people, a lot of people in their 80s and 90s, and their complaint to me is they're forgetting how to do things that they used to know how to do. And I find that the books that are for dummies, and there's a book for Windows 10 or 11 for dummies for seniors, and the same with Excel and Word. that those books seem to help them be able to remember, oh yeah, that's how I open a file up, that's how I save it, that's how I print it. It goes through the basic steps. If not, then if you go through yourself on all the different things that you do and have a written procedure, that would be the other thing that you might want to do.
Dan?
Dan?
Yes, do you have a good book for iPhones?
They have the same thing for iPhones, and again for seniors in there, and for the different versions of the operating system on the iPhone. I look at Amazon on there, and the books are $10 to $15 usually for most of them. So most of the people say, you know, for that amount of money, let me just buy it and see if it works for me.
Ross, do you suppose there's a list of things for dummies that you could copy and post? Just scroll down through it some meeting?
I would have you go to Amazon and type that into the search, because I don't want to do it just for dummies. I want to say iPhone for seniors, because there are other companies that write books. And depending on what's available today, as far as you kind of need to look at the description. There was one book we were looking at for a gentleman with Excel, but it covered a number of different versions of Excel, because he had different versions of old files and he wanted to be able to make sure he could use those. So this book then specifically spoke of that, being able to help him support with multiple different versions of Excel.
Well, I was speaking to someone here that just got an iPhone, trying to figure out how to use it, and his daughter gave him a book on iPhones, but it jumps in way too deep than he should be, is what it amounts to.
Right.
And
So,
he's
again, I
looking-
might look at the ones for seniors that they have there, and maybe not dummies, but they do have them. As far as the iPhones and things, the versions of the operating system keep changing so quickly, and the functions do vary a little bit from version to version. So you have to be careful with that. So in other words, to say, can you go to the library and get one of those books that's going to be covered for you? Maybe, maybe not. So that's what I'm saying, is you need to look like at Amazon and say, here's what I want to have, iPhone X for seniors, and then see what they offer there.
Yeah, YouTube tutorials are wonderful, because you got several on a specific subject that you can usually find what you want. I use YouTube tutorials a lot.
Pat?
Dang it. Just wanted to add, don't forget, we had that gentleman that presented at the library where you take your phone in and do all that stuff. And like next month, the San Diego Community College Continuing Education Program is having an iPhone for 5 weeks. So they could probably do that too, although sometimes she thinks you're starting out at a higher level than you actually are. But yeah, Mary Burns and the San Diego Community College, the continuing education. But sometimes that's like you need actually she also has all kinds of videos on those websites that she does too. So there's quite a bit of information. You just have to figure out how to get to it, though. It's kind of
yeah, and in the books the same way. You might look for one, say, for iPhone for beginners versus seniors, and it may have it saying, okay, this is what these are. And I recommend to people that you look at, say, 5 to 10 pages a day, but you need to go through it from front to back. And I kind of use the analogy to say, you didn't learn how to write a letter from the beginning. You first of all had to learn the letters, then you had to learn how to make words, and then you needed to be able to put those words together. And a lot of times when you go through the book step by step, a lot of things don't make sense until you get to the 4th or 5th or 6th chapter, and you go, oh, that's what they were talking about. Because of the things as far as opening a file and saving a file and printing a file, those are common to all of the different programs that you're going to use, and they go through saying, here's what you're actually doing. This is where you're putting it. This is how I do it. But yeah, it's learning new stuff is not easy.
Yeah. I'm not very good with a cell phone. Willie, is Mary Burns doing cell phone Zoom sessions?
Yeah, she does cell phone, iPhone, Android, both over the summer,
Yeah.
plus
So
in the fall.
I think she's doing the Android after the iPhone, isn't she? Or how does that work? Do you remember, Willie?
I'm not sure which comes first, but
I know I'm starting the iPhone next week. Well,
yes.
weeks.
See, I got the Android starting in July, end of July.
Oh, okay. So
So yeah, she does. I think she's doing 4 weeks on iPhone and then 3 weeks on Android.
Okay, I have her email. I'll check.
You have to be a student. So that's the first thing. If you wanted to take, you have to enroll in community college, get a student ID, get an email address. That's
yeah.
make you laugh, Pat.
Yeah, I know. That's always funny. New process.
There's still people that haven't done it, and the cutoff is in 6 days or
Oh, really?
4 days.
All right,
Oh,
everybody.
Question though to Willie, to do that, do I log into community college or something?
Mean to become a student?
Yes.
Yeah, you'd have to go to probably San Diego Community College District website.
Okay.
I could send you the information. Can't do it right off the bat right here, but
Okay, thank you. You have my email?
I do.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Maybe you want to just send him Mary Burns because she's really good at helping you do everything. You have her stuff.
Yeah, he's probably got that already, but I'll do something offline.
All right,
I know
thanks.
it's past noon, so
Because I think she needed people for the Android class anyway.
All right, all. See you next week.
Okay.